Hello everyone and welcome to this Adobe Live. We are at Los Angeles with Wes. My name is Vincent. How's it going, Wes?
Good, man. Yeah. Hey, I'm Wes. It's awesome to be here at Adobe Max, and as Scott said this morning, just completely live in person.
Yeah.
Really cool. Hey, and I'm so glad that you're here with me, man.
It's really nice. It's really nice to super glad, and congrats for this morning. It was great. We can see your question in the chat, so don't hesitate to add some. We'll take them by the time. And today we are going to talk a bit about the Adobe Substance 3D collection, especially 3 of the apps which compose it. So which one are we going to see?
Yeah, so we are going to jump in and take a look at Substance 3D. And so first off, we're going to take a look at our new application called Substance Modeler, which we released. Was 1.0 was today, right?
Yeah, today.
Yep, today. So we're going to talk about Substance Modeler. First came out. We're going to go through some stuff. I think we're going to make a wine barrel, and then going to take that over to Substance Painter, do some painting on it, and then try to get it in a stager and do a rendering. We'll see if we have time. I think we got like 40 minutes.
Yeah, we have 40 minutes, so we'll try to pack this. And I think you can start.
Yeah, all right, let's get into it. All right, so what you're looking at right here is the new Substance Modeler interface. Like I said, this is a 1.0 application just coming out today, and Substance Modeler allows me to, create 3D models. Yep. So here you can see that I have what we call the clay tool. It's a simple tool, and I can move this little gizmo around like this. Now, if I want to put down a piece of clay, I just hit my space bar, and there we go. We have a piece of clay. What's really cool about this is then I can have my piece of clay. I can then jump over to, say, something like my eraser tool, and let's just position this guy. Watch, this is pretty fun. So I'll come in, I'll hold my space bar down to activate the tool, and then I can go in and just start, cutting away, or we can hit clay once again. So we'll hit the C button, and we'll scale this guy down, and let's go in and, I can start just adding clay.
Yeah,
so,
super easy, no?
Yeah, a lot of it's kind of like, Play-Doh when we were kids, let's have a piece of Play-Doh, let's put things together, let's just make something. So that's what we're gonna do here. Let's create a new scene really quickly. And my idea that I wanted to kind of go with is, let me try to make like a little wine barrel. So I'll start here with just a cylinder shape, and I'm just gonna scale down my clay tool, maybe scale it up a little bit, something like this.
It's a big border, no?
Yeah. And this is gonna be the bottom of the wine barrel. And so one of the things I like to do really quick is just simply check what my resolution is. I just mouse over this plus or minus button. It's really intuitive tool. If I want to increase resolution, I hit the plus. If I want to decrease resolution, I hit the minus. One way to think of that is like, your Photoshop canvas, and what's the pixel dimensions of that. That's kind of what we're thinking about here. So I have this in place. I want to put down a piece of clay. I'll hit the space bar, and there we go. I have the bottom of what is going to be my wine barrel.
Easy.
So now I'll come over to my select tool, and so I have the tool here. Now I want to make another copy of this that's going to be the top of the wine barrel, and so what I'll do is I'll hit Control D to duplicate it, and then we'll just move this guy up here towards the top.
Okay, so the first step, actually, you were like in sculpting mode, and right now you are more in selecting, playing with what you have sculpted just before, right?
Yep, totally, that's exactly right. And so now we have these two parts, right? So this is the bottom of the barrel, this is the top of the barrel. This also lets me kind of help visualize like the overall, like what's the height of this thing gonna be?
Yeah.
What we're missing, obviously, is the planks of the barrel itself. So now we're gonna create that.
Okay.
So just like Photoshop, we're used to layers. Let's create a new layer. So I can just right click and say new layer. Now I'm already creating a new layer. And I wanna create some wood planks. So I jump back over to my clay tool, and I'm gonna grab here this cube. And now I'm just gonna position the cube. Let's go ahead and just scale this guy up. You can see that I'm just moving around in 3D space. Yep. This is obviously a block. Let's make it look more like a little wood plank. So I'll make this a little bit thinner. Let's decrease our width, something like this here.
Cool. So meanwhile you are doing that, someone in the chat is asking about if it's on Mac. So not yet, so right now it's on PC, but no doubt that it will come on Mac in the future.
All right, cool. Yep, that is correct. All right, so you can see that what I did was I just looking at my little wood plank, I want it to be, match the bottom, and then here towards the top, I can just hold down the control key and move this up and down, so it's just selecting the top piece.
Super easy.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna make a little lip here with that. All right, so there's my little wood plank. Once again, I haven't actually created the clay yet. This is just me like resizing the box. Yeah. And I want to look at what the resolution is going to be. So I'm looking at the resolution, the little checker pattern. It's kind of large, not enough. So let's just make the resolution. You can see it's like I'm adding more pixels, we'll say, to the graphic. So now that I have this in place, I'm gonna maybe slightly bevel the edge.
Okay.
So I'll just throw in a little bit of roundness here.
Yeah, it's like a dynamic object, no? You can
totally. Let's also just put a little fillet here at the top.
Cool.
So increase this guy and just blur it. So there, looks like a wood plank, right?
It's awesome. That's the best wood plank that I've seen in my life.
Yeah,
Wes.
it's I don't think you could do a more difficult object, right? A plank. It's pretty hard.
Yeah,
right?
it's pretty hard, like a rectangle. Ooh.
All right, so now that I have this, I'm ready to actually put down my piece of clay. I'll hit the space bar, and now I have my clay. So here, if we take a look, we got 3 pieces. Now, I've got one single plank. I need to basically copy or rotate this around. So here's how we can do that in Modeler. Pretty simple. We'll right-click. We have a section down here called Repetition. I'll click my Repetition button. You can see it's set to 5, and now we've created 5 planks.
Nice.
Let's add some more, right? Because this isn't really going to hold the.
Yeah, I think for the wine it's a big difficult.
Yeah. All right, so we need to fill
more.
this guy up. Let's just keep clicking, and there we go.
I think we're good here.
So if we take a look, we now have our barrel. We have a top, we have a bottom, and we have the wood planks. Now, this looks too much like a cylinder, right? So we need to
make straight.
Yeah, we need to maybe bulge that out, put a little bit of shape to this.
It would be more wine, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so how can we do that? Well, thankfully, Modeler has a tool we call Warp. It's like a move. Let's jump in and take a look at that.
Meanwhile, while you're doing that, someone is asking about Stager, when it will come on the Apple Silicon architecture. So we're going to work on it. It will come. We have to do some other development before this, but yes, it will come also on Stager, like the other applications.
Cool, great, thank you, Vincent.
Yeah.
All right, so now that I have the warp here, you can see that I have this little gizmo, and let me just say this really quick. So what you guys are seeing right now is I'm working on what's called desktop mode. But one of the things that's very unique about Substance Modeler is it has this hybrid workflow. So for example, if I had a VR headset, I could put that on, I'd have my VR controllers, and I could completely work in a VR space that would give me an extra added sense of depth and tactility.
Yeah.
So I could do that, or I could work here in desktop. It's however you want to do.
And you don't have to choose. You can either use both or one or the other. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can be here in desktop. If I just had the VR headset, I could put it on, and boom, I'm in VR. If I take it off, I'm in desktop. It's seamless switching.
And question from chat: can you import an image as a reference inside Modeler?
Yeah, you cannot do that yet, but that is definitely on the roadmap.
Yeah.
Needs to happen.
Soon.
So yeah,
soon.
Yeah. Coming soon is our trademark.
Yeah, you will hear a lot. Like, we love to say soon.
All right, so I've got my little warp tool here. And if I hold down the space bar, that's like activating the tool. So here I'll hold the space bar down and I'll move, and you can see that I can start to do like a little bit of a warp. Now, what's really cool about this is, so if I let go, you can see that all the planks are actually linked.
Yes.
So as I make a warp, it's gonna update everything. Pretty interesting.
So it's faster.
All right, so what we wanna do is I'm just gonna scale my warp up, and I'm just gonna make sure that I encompass the entire plank, and now I'll hold the space bar down, and let's just do a warp. Now you can see I'm kind of warping the whole plank. Now, when I look at this, I can see here from the side the actual kind of profile of this warp. It's giving me a little bit of this S-blend curve. Yeah. I don't want that, so let's undo it. And what I'm gonna do is just scale this up even further, and now I'll bend, and there we go. Now I'm getting more of what I want.
Cool. Question from the chat again. Are there different views in Modeler or just one right now?
There is just one view for right now. So we're working in our perspective view, but again, that's something else that's on the roadmap. This is a 1.0 too, so it's early days, and there's a lot of stuff that we need to add, but definitely great question, and there will be multiple views.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was able to do my warp, but I like what I'm getting here in this shape. But now I need to kind of, fix what I've done here because it's expanded everything.
Yeah.
So again, because everything's linked, I'll select the plank and I'll just start to move all my shapes back in. And what I'm gonna do is just see if I can get that corner here to line up. So I'm just gonna do that, and there we go. Get the corner to line up. The top and bottom are good. I still have a little bit of a gap in between here.
Yeah.
No problem, we're going back to the warp for this.
Make it waterproof, please.
Yes. So I've got my single plank again. Let's jump back to the warp tool. I'm gonna scale it down. Now, one of the things I can do is I can move the piece over, this warp. You can see that I can now kind of warp into this edge.
Yeah.
But I wanna do this on both sides. So we can activate a symmetry mode. So now we have warp happening on both sides. I'm going to scale it up.
Okay. So it's local on the wood plank.
Yes.
It's ready. Okay.
Okay, so I'm just kind of visually, that's the thing I love about this tool. It's very visual. I don't have to know all these crazy numbers or math. I'm just kind of, hey, does that look good? Yeah, okay, let's move the
You don't have to care about the topology actually,
right.
Or the mesh or stuff like that.
So I'm just gonna frame things up and then watch here. I'm gonna hold down my space bar, I'm gonna move my warp, and you can see that I'm just gonna warp those edges. And because I'm using that fall off, I've just fixed the inside.
Oh, perfect.
Let's take a look. There we go, I'm happy with this. So now I have my barrel, top, bottom, and we have our sides. Now, the next thing I want to do is add some of this kind of metal around the sides, like kind of like the little, I don't know, it's actually called something. I looked this up and I can't remember what it's called.
I really don't know. The rings, let's say the metal rings. But
we'll call it metal rings.
Metal rings.
It literally has, maybe someone in the chat knows, it literally has like some kind of name.
There is some wine barrel experts in the chat. That's a good time to...
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to bust out a new layer, grab my cylinder, let's move it up, scale it up. Okay, it's obviously way too big, so I'm gonna just position this guy here.
That's nice.
Okay, maybe I want to do a little bit wider, and we'll scale it in.
And this deeper,
all right,
I guess.
so one thing that it's doing is it's kind of cutting into here, so I'm gonna use my thickness slider.
Ah, yes.
So I just want to make it to where it's not super thick. This is just gonna have a small little lip around it. So let's scale it in. Okay, so it fits pretty good at the top. The bottom is not doing great because it's kind of cutting in a little too much. So what I'm gonna do, I went on ahead and hit the space bar to create my clay, but you know what I didn't like? Let me undo that. I'm going to make sure my resolution is good, and what I wanna do is add just a little bit of a bevel here.
That's nice. Wes, I have another question from the chat for you. More technical one. They are asking what type of geometry it is within Modeler. Is it faces? Is it polygon, nerves, etc.?
Oh, great,
so
excellent
it's technical,
question.
but it's interesting.
So it's not what it is it's actually going to be it's an SDF. So spatial, I always forget what it is. Spatial
something, but like voxel. So it's an information in the space in 3D. So you don't have to care about the topology while you are in while you are doing this. That's why it's so easy, because you just care about the shape, adding volume, extracting volume, and it works.
Right. And so here you can see I'm going to use my warp tool. I'm going to position it, because what I want to do is just flare this bottom out. Okay. So I'll position, and then I'm going to grab my little scale node here that's over in this corner, hold down my space bar, and then just kind of flare this out a little bit.
Okay, so you're brushing, warping the content with this.
There we go, and that fixes what I want to do there. So now we've got this on its own layer. Let's select this guy, Control D. Let's move it towards the bottom. Now it's kind of flipped a little bit. You can see the flares coming out on the other side. So I can just rotate using the gizmo. Really nice shortcut. I'm going to flip this really quick. So I'll hold down the Control key, and I'm going to left click here on this rotation.
Okay.
Click, click, flipped it for me.
Easy.
Nice and flipped, super easy.
Okay, so it's constrained rotation.
Let's move it down like that. There we go. That looks pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, let's do another section here. New layer, and I'm going to reposition this guy. Scale it up, and you'll notice that the clay tool remembered the last shape that I had created, which is awesome.
Yeah, it makes it easy to align stuff.
Yeah. Now I want this one to be a little bit more, not as tall, so I'm just going to make that a little bit thinner. Let's reposition, scale. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I hit my space bar to create my clay, and again I need to use my warp. So I've got my warp tool.
To adjust again?
Yep, I'm just going to flare that bottom piece.
Yeah, people in the chat love the wine barrel topic. Apparently you make like some fans.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if it's for the barrel or the wine, but they do love it.
All right, so we've got this band, Control D, same process. Let's move it down towards the bottom. And I need to flip this, so Control, click, click, flip.
Awesome.
And there we go, just reposition it. All right, so I just need one more here in the middle. So what I'm gonna do, how are we looking on time, Vincent? I think we started at 3:15.
Yes, yeah. So
we got like 30 minutes.
Yeah, you're
great.
extremely good, Wes.
Yeah, all right, we got 30 minutes. All right, new layer. Let's position this ring right here in the center. All right, that looks pretty good. Hit my space bar to create my clay, and there we go. We have our basic wine barrel in place.
Yeah, in less than 10 minutes.
Yeah,
so
really quick.
That's cool.
All right, so the next thing I want to do I can actually group things together. Let's select all these pieces here that's going to represent kind of my metal.
So why would we group them?
Just for organizational purposes, I think. I don't really have like a specific like reason. I just kind of like, you know what, I want to group these guys, mainly because...
To apply metal as well, it will be, if everything metal is together, it's easier to...
Yeah, it's great to think about. Yeah, really good idea, Vincent. It's great to think about it that way, but also the way that it has it, because when we think about how the layer system works here, we try to make this pretty intuitive. You'll notice that like in Photoshop, we have like a layer stack. We don't have a layer stack in here. I'm creating a bunch of layers, but if I want to like jump into a layer, all I have to do is just double click and I'm inside the layer.
Yeah.
Double click out, I'm outside the layer. Even easier, I can mouse over an area and just hit the S button to jump right into a layer.
Okay, yeah.
And then you'll see here, I can jump into another layer and so on and so forth. If I want to get out, I just move my mouse outwards and just hit the S key and I'm out. So that's the idea of us just being able to seamlessly move in and out here. All right, okay, we got good time here. All right, let's move in. Let's do a little bit more kind of work here to this guy. So what I'm gonna do is, let's jump into this layer that I've created, this group, and I'm gonna just make a cut here, because I'm gonna put a couple little like rivets on this. So with this guy selected, let me back out of here.
And someone in the chat just says it's a sign distance field, so you are right.
Yes, sign this SDF.
Yeah.
I should know that, and you know what?
I should as well.
Yeah, I think it's just nerves, and I'm like, my brain fog.
No, but the community is helpful,
yes,
so that's
thank
perfect.
you, community. You
Yeah,
guys are all awesome. That's why we love the community so much.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm just going to kind of move this around. And what I'm doing is just making a little cut piece.
Mm-hmm.
So here you can see I'm just positioning, do a little rotation here. And now that I have this in place, this is a subtractive, I can just hit the space bar and I'm just putting a little cut here. Now, I have the same cutter. I want to go to my next layer. Here's where this kind of like scoping kind of comes in. Watch this, I can just mouse over and hit S. I'm in the layer. Now, I don't want this to be super uniform, so I am going to move this into position. Here's a nice kind of shortcut way I like to work. Instead of moving it this way, I'm going to hit the G key so I can just sample the face.
Oh, yes.
Move over into this location, hit the G to go back to my gizmo, and then just quickly rotate.
So you are following the surface of the object with this shortcut, right?
Yeah. So then I'll go to the next one. Let's maybe come over here in this area. I'm going to hit S to go into it, G, position, G to go out, make a quick rotation, space bar to make my cut. And let's come over into here, S, G. I know I'm saying a lot of keyboard shortcuts.
G is like like a song almost.
Right.
It's S for scope if you don't.
Oh, I screwed this one up. No problem. I can just quickly.
S for screw.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And boom, we'll do that. Okay, I think that's going to do enough. So now I've got some more pieces here to work with. I want to do one more layer before we finish this guy out. We're gonna, let's go with a cylinder here. And I'm just gonna move this guy up so we can see what we're doing. And this is gonna be like a little rivet. So I'm gonna just, scale it down quite a bit. And let's just scale it here. And whoops, lost my zone. There we go. And I'm gonna add maybe just bevel this edge, make it nice and round. There we go.
While you do this, question in the chat, will putting the metal strip all on one layer helps to texture them later on? The answer is yes, it will help. Yeah,
it's gonna give me, that's a great question, because once I get into Painter, you'll see that I'm able to just mask based on object, and I can just click that group and boom, I'll be able to mask.
It will be one geometry object in Painter.
So here's where being able to switch here to surface mode is very helpful. So I've set my tool up. This is my little clay tool, it's gonna be my rivet.
Okay.
So now I'll hit G, and now I have my little rivet tool. I can scale this down with my mouse, and then I'm just going to go ahead and stamp in a few rivets here.
Super easy.
Okay, let's come over to this side, do the same thing. Let's come over to this side. Same thing, over to this side. Boom, boom, and that's it, we're done. All right, so there we go. We have our barrel all set and modeled here using Substance Modeler.
Super fast.
So now I want to export this out so that I can use it inside of Substance Painter. So this is where I would just do File, Export, and I can export. Here, I'll show you what the export window looks like. So we have multiple formats. USD is awesome to work with. We also have GLTF, GLB, really great web formats. Your typical, workhorse, FBX, OBJ. You can set the meters. You can set to export just selected objects.
Yeah, so it's really up to, it adapts to any pipeline basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Here's where things get awesome though, because we have some options. So for example, we could export to quads, which is going to do, now if you know about 3D, what this would actually do is do a retopology of my mesh here. So it's like an auto retopology tool. I don't want to do that in this case, but we have that option. What I'm going to do is something called UV map triangles.
Okay.
So again, if you don't know what I'm saying, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But if you are a 3D artist and you're wondering, so what this is going to do is it's going to, it's going to decimate my mesh, and it's actually going to create UVs for me. Yeah. So I don't even have to worry about UVs. Now, it's going to take like a few minutes to do all this. I've already, obviously, through the magic of, demos, I've already exported this barrel.
Awesome.
So let me jump over to Painter now, and let's get into this. So we're going to say File, New, and select the barrel, and let's set here my resolution and click OK.
So here it's ready to be textured.
Yeah, and so here is another barrel that I did that's kind of similar to what I was working on. The next thing I am going to do right off the bat is I'm just going to basically run through what we call a baking process, which is just going to gather some information about the mesh that just helps me in the texturing process.
Got it.
So let's run that, right, Vincent?
Yeah.
All right, so we bake mesh maps. I set a resolution.
Yeah, this will allow to drive some effect afterwards. We can use this information to drive some filters within Painter, for example.
Yeah, I'm just making a few quick adjustments here. All right, so I'm done. Let's just bake these textures. And watch how fast this is. Substance Painter just does this basically right off the, well, it's done. I didn't even get to finish talking about it.
You can't even talk.
Yeah.
Do it again.
But what it's done is it's created some information. Like, take a look at this ambient occlusion map. This shows me, where light gets occluded, kind of like in these crevice areas around the bolts and stuff like that. Again, just helps in the texturing process.
You have to think about this like masks. So where do I put the dust, for example? You can use this.
Yeah, here's an option that shows curvature, so you can see that the white area just kind of shows, where the edges of this are. You'll see that I'm actually going to use this here in just a bit. Okay, so now we've got some just basic information. That's just kind of like what you do right when you start Substance Painter.
Yeah. And someone in the chat is asking if we can use this for product design or in conjunction with, or just for virtual stuff. It is used in product design or the Substance application. So yeah, either for prototyping or to prepare the final product. So yes, definitely in a, let's say, serious 3D with real object at the end, it's totally feasible, yes.
Yeah, and so that's a great question. And so like right now with Substance Modeler, you said prototyping, that's exactly what it's for. Think about like, okay, its initial stage at this 1.0 release is that we're looking at, okay, how can I quickly just mash out a concept? How can I prototype something like that, and then we can get it into our tools to work with.
And can we 3D print it?
Yeah, we can 3D print it. It's airtight.
Yeah.
All right, so here's a material that I downloaded. Where did I get this material? Well, one of the things that we have as part of the Substance suite of tools is what we call Substance 3D Assets. It's a content library that contains thousands of materials and models.
Exactly.
You use it to get your work started really quick, So I need a wood material. I'm going to search for wood.
Yeah. You don't start from scratch. This way you use it, and you don't have to think about it.
Now we'll see if this actually comes up. We are tethered to Vincent's phone.
Yeah, my phone is
our
responsible
signal's kind of
for...
low, so yeah, I don't know if that's actually going to work. I'm not going to wait. That, it did, look at that. So then we can scroll through here and find materials that we want to work with. So for example, maybe I like this material. What I could do is just click on it and say send to Painter, and it's going to send this material right into Painter. Now I already did this just so we don't have to, I don't want to eat up your data, man.
Yeah,
so,
I will make you pay after that.
Yeah. So we've got a wood material. So I'm going to drag and drop and just throw it right onto the surface. So here we go. We start to get a wood material. Right off the bat, I need to do some masking. So here in my layer stack, this is kind of work like a layer stack like Photoshop. So I need to do some masking. So I'm going to come over and create a layer mask. And then I like to create what we call a paint effect.
Okay, so it's black, so it hides everything. So that's why it's white like this.
Now, I could use my paintbrush here and then just start to paint, just like you would in Photoshop layer mask. This is very tedious, it's boring, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, so it will be 3 hours live stream.
Yeah, let's undo that. Yeah. So we have a fill tool over here. I'm going to select this guy, and there's a couple options. Again, because I worked off actual pieces of geometry, I choose this geometry mode. And now what I can do is go in and just start to fill just my planks here.
Okay, super easy.
Yeah, so one thing I could do is just come in and just select everything, and then I'm just gonna invert my selection, and then probably just kind of take some of these guys off that I'm not really working with. So we'll just do this really quick. Whoops.
A question about Stager in the chat. Meanwhile, you do this, I will answer. Is there a way to export the lighting HDRI camera setup to another 3D program? So far, no, not from Stager. You can import within an FBXPy, but not exporting these setups.
All right, so I'm just kind of masking these guys out. All I have to do is I'm just clicking on the objects.
Yeah, there is different way of selection, I guess. Like by face, by elements, by UVs, if you know UVs. So everything is possible.
Yep,
Well
so
done.
right now we just have the wood. So let's take a look at what we can do with this wood. So with the layers selected, first thing I'm gonna do is I think the scale's off quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I might throw this into just a different projection mode and take a look. Maybe the wood's going the wrong way, so I'm just gonna flip it like this.
There is a cylinder as well.
Yep, so I'm getting something like
cool.
that. And then I can start to just tile this. Let's see what a value of 4 looks like. That looks pretty good. So I think I'll go with something like this. Now, because this is a substance material, we have all these parameters and we can totally change this. Let's see what we can do here. First off, I'm not really liking the veins that I'm seeing here, the wood, we call it wood veins. Where is that guy in here? There it is. Start to just play around and drop this down.
Okay, so it's reprocess the whole material.
Right. So I'm gonna drop that down just a little bit like this. Then I can dial in a little bit of aging here.
It's good because for the wine, if it has to age well. So,
Oh yeah, and you do. This
Yeah.
is going to
In
be.
French, I know what I'm talking about.
Oh, of course,
Yeah.
yeah. This is going to be a well-aged wine.
Yeah, the perfect one.
Yeah.
Made in California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know something? I did go with this triplanar, and that sometimes that's a good option, but I feel like it's making everything too uniform. I'm going to try a trick. Let me set this back to a different projection mode.
There is maybe the cylinder
and-
one. I don't know.
Yeah, I think. But if I do UV, it's going to keep everything. No, that's why I did. Yeah, never mind. Sorry, guys. I was just thinking out loud. Again, another thing I love about Painter is that I can just kind of, let my mind go and I can just kind of create on the fly.
Yeah, it's totally non-destructive. You can always go back and try new stuff.
All right, so I think we're going to do this. I'm going to introduce a little bit of reflectivity here to the wood. So if I move this light around, you can see we're getting a little bit of reflection there. Let's introduce a little bit of kind of some scratches.
So someone in the chat is asking, is it hard to make your own textures? Depends. You can go deep. I'm going to answer meanwhile Wes is fine-tuning. You can go deep, but there is a software we have called Adobe Substance 3D Sampler, which make it really easy. You can just take a picture, and from this picture you can start making your own material. Then you can go deeper with Substance 3D Designer. So it's really for each level. Designer will offer you way more control, but we try to cover the full scope of artists and needs. So to start, it's quite easy to start to make a material with a Substance 3D Sampler. And I have another comment, which is maybe the best, which is Wes and Vince makes a good team for presenting. I completely agree.
That is awesome. Yeah, that is good.
I love this guy.
Yeah, oh, that's great. Yeah, thank you very
10
much.
years license.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking, I'm joking.
Free licenses.
Whoa.
We're gonna get in trouble. I don't know if Tal sees us there. Okay, so I was just kind of messing around, doing some tweaks here. Let's see. Let me just set that back. Yeah, I'm gonna go with 3 on the rotation. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is maybe add a little bit of dirt. So I'm gonna create a new fill layer. It's gonna put like a new layer on top. And let me just set like a color value really quick. So I'll set something like a brown. I'm going to increase my roughness value so that it's not reflective looking.
Yeah.
And here, we'll call this dirt.
What you have to think when we think about material is the different aspects of it, like the color, is it matte, shiny, is it the relief, etc. We have to define all this stuff or to fine tune. That's what you are doing right now.
And so here you can see that what I'm doing is I'm just creating another layer mask again. Now this time I'm going to add what we call a generator. And these are kind of like, filters in Photoshop.
Yeah.
So I'm going to grab here this generator called dirt.
Whoa.
And let's go and change the blending mode for the layer. I'll do something like harsh, like multiply so we can see what's happening. And then as I increase this dirt, you can see that the dirt's actually collecting here in kind of like these occluded areas.
Like a pirate barrel.
Yeah, and so we can grunge this up. Now this is too dark, I don't want to do this. So instead of multiply, what I like to do is just use min darken. And again, I can go in and just play around with my color value. Subtle effect, but very needed to kind of anchor everything together. So we'll add a little bit of grunge. There we go. All right, so adding a little bit of dirt there. I haven't started on the metal yet, but one last technique I want to use is I'm going to jump over here to the wood planks. I want to add a little bit of little delineation to the edge.
Okay.
So let's create another fill. We're going to call this edge. And this is just going to be color, so I'm just going to use the color information. I'll start with white, and let's mask it. Let's throw a generator, and I'm going to grab one of our generators here called curvature. Okay, so a lot going on. We just need to tweak the control. So let's just play around with that balance.
Cool.
So we'll get something like that. And now I'm going to play with the blending mode. So let's see, what do we get if we do something like maybe an overlay? Okay. No, maybe...
I'm letting you try, and someone is asking in the chat, when are we able to try photogrammetry in Sampler? So soon, as we say, we like to see soon. Hopefully before the end of the year, I think, but nothing promised.
Oh, yeah, I think it is coming soon. It's pretty soon, actually.
And it's pretty awesome. So for people who knows what photogrammetry means, I will say it. Meanwhile, you are fine-tuning.
Oh, I'm pretty much ready to go.
It's like a way to capture an object, like matte, for example, here. And you just take pictures around it, and you are capable in a Substance 3D sampler to convert it into a virtual object, like virtual 3D object. That's the strength of sampler that we won't see today, but to take real information with photos, like to create materials, model, even to capture an illumination. So we do all of this with sampler. So yeah, soon.
All right, so you can see I just put a little bit of edge wear. What I'm doing is I'm just using that curvature.
Yeah.
So this is what it looks like.
Okay.
And instead of using a blending mode, I just drop the opacity of the layer. Now, one thing, let's take a look at what this effect is doing. Here's what it actually looks like. Now, it's there, but it's kind of uniform. We could actually break this up.
Yeah.
So one of the things I like to do is quickly add a fill in here, and let's come over to my library where we have all these assets you can use. And I'm just gonna quickly grab just like a grungy looking texture, like, I don't know, I'm just making this up. Let's go with this one. We'll throw it into here.
Ooh.
And we'll just do a triplanar on it, maybe tile it a few times. Okay, so now, just like we would work with blending modes in our layers, we can do so with our masking. So here, I'm just gonna multiply it. Now, look what that does. It kind of just crunches things up a bit.
Perfectly dirty.
Yeah.
Dirty. Wow.
And here, let's do my balance. Now, that is what I wanted to go with. It just kind of breaks everything up.
Yeah.
So I kind of lost my effect a little bit, but now I can, again, just constantly you're able to tweak these controls. So let's just bring it up, and there you go. Just a slight little edge wear, very non-uniform here on the barrel. Okay, cool. Looking at my time, we got almost 10 minutes. All right, let's do the metal now. So I'm gonna jump over to my just materials. These just ship with Substance Painter. There was a metal in here. I wanted to use the, I like this metal a lot. It's the Steel Dark Age. Let's use this guy. So we'll drag him in. Really quick, I need to mask this guy. So using that exact same technique before, I am going to just go in and just select and make my mask here.
Maybe geometry mask could work
Yeah,
as
it
well.
doesn't because, it just shows in the one piece.
Okay,
but I'll tell you what I'm gonna do really quick. Let's see if we can't do a technique to fix this. So we had our age wood. Here, what I'm gonna do is we can actually copy this layer mask. So let's do this, copy mask. Let's come over to this new layer we wanna mask, and we're gonna paste into mask.
And then invert, right?
And then we will invert.
Wes, you're such a genius.
Let's see, quick way to do that. I think I would just do a levels and then just invert it, right?
Should work.
Boom, there we go. So there, it saved me a lot of time.
You're awesome.
Yeah. I love this tool. I do. It's so awesome. All right.
It's you who make it awesome.
So there we go. Now, this was what we call a smart material, this material here, meaning that it's like a collection of a layer stack. So what's really neat about this is that you can create a very specific type of material that you really like. You can save it and reuse it over and over again. You can share it with your friends, your coworkers.
For birthday,
yeah,
good presents.
Makes great
smart
birthday
material.
presents. Yeah, every kid wants to get a smart material,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I know I did. Okay, so we've got this guy in here. What do I want to do with it? Well, I think I'm just going to play around a little bit. I just make it a little less rough. It's probably fine the way it is. Oh yeah, one thing I like, there's a little bit of a thing called a finishing filter on here. I like to scale this guy up here. If I zoom in really close, you can see what it's kind of doing. Let's make some brushing. It just makes a little bit of detail there.
That makes a difference.
Yeah, let's do that.
Meanwhile, I will answer a question. How extensive the texture and stuff libraries are? In Painter directly, I cannot know, but there is like hundreds of elements, and then you can complete with the Adobe Substance 3D assets. You have like with the plan 50 credits a month, so you have lots to play with.
Okay, so let's just call this done here.
This is the most beautiful barrel I've seen, Wes.
It's not awesome, but it'll work.
It's awesome.
Okay, let's see here. Where is my, all right, so you can see my resolution was set to 2048. What I like to do, I'm gonna send this up to even higher resolution. So this is, again, another thing that's awesome about Substance Painter. Completely non-destructive, meaning that like I worked at 2K resolution on my laptop. It let me work really fast. But now I want to start to go towards my render. I bump it up, double the resolution to 4K. It's not like doing an image size. Yeah, it's not an upscale. The Substance engine inside of Painter literally redraws the material for me.
Exactly.
So now I have a true image. Okay, I could do some more tweaks here. I'd love to add a little bit of rust on here, but here,
it's beautiful, Wes.
For the sake of time, let's do this. Let's send this right into Substance Stager. So I use the file send to Substance Stager, and you'll see here that Stager opens up. It's going to load the material. This is how quick it is to get into Substance Stager.
But what is Substance Stager, Wes?
Well, I'm so funny that you asked. Well, Stager is a tool. It allows you to, stage 3D assets so that we can render them.
Exactly. That's a bit of photo studio where you prepare your scene and your final render.
Yeah. So here it is. Here's my barrel. I'm just kind of scaling it up here so we can get it. I don't know. I didn't really do my scale correctly, but that'll work. All right, we have the barrel. Now, what else could we do? What do we got? I think we can do a little bit more.
You can do some magic in
We have the barrel. Really quick, I'm going to import in a 3D model. I'm going to grab here this wine bottle.
You don't have a monkey because people are asking for monkey? Oh, this is a big wine.
Yeah, this is my scale is off, but it's okay. We're working fast here, right?
Yeah.
We're approaching the end. Oops, I didn't want to undo that. I'm just going to,
Perfect. With the white point, you can put it on top.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so we brought in a wine bottle. Let's import in a 3D model. Let's do the wine glass.
Oh my God, we have.
Yeah. Oh, it's big.
Perfect.
It's too big.
Big wine.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
You're thirsty, Wes?
Yes. I keep hitting the rotation. Let's scale it down. Again, everyone, my scale is going to be off. We're just trying to work on this quick. Okay. We have this in place. Okay, let's start looking at some materials really quick for the wine bottle. What do we have here that ships with Stager? Here's our quick trick. I am going to grab a hard plastic for a glass bottle. But it'll look like what I want because I'm going to take my roughness and move it all the way down, and I'm just going to throw in a little bit of metallic. I'm kind of cheating here.
Yeah.
All right.
So wine bottle.
With this guy selected, what am I going to do? I jumped out to Adobe stock and I grabbed, we got time. I've grabbed an Illustrator file. So we do import. I'm going to place an image on the model. I'm going to grab my wine label. There it is.
Oh, wow.
So let's scale it down and let's reposition the label.
This is a classy wine. I like that.
Well, if you don't like it, I have more options. Because this is an Illustrator file, it's made up of a bunch of artboards. Watch this.
You are spoiling me. I like that.
You're going to love this. You come in, we have artboards. We can just switch between our artboards and change. What do you like better? Let's see.
This one is perfect. Bordeaux.
Bordeaux?
Yeah.
How you say it?
Bordeaux.
Do in your French accent.
Yeah, Bordeaux. French accent. Nice.
Well,
nice
he always
city,
has
nice
a
wine.
French accent.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And someone is, meanwhile, you are tweaking that. Someone is asking about the first tool in Stager. So it's still in R&D, so there is no specific date for this. So let's say soon.
So here I grab the glass. Going quick here. Let's see. What do I want to do? What do I want to do? There was a
liquid, maybe.
Yeah, there
you
was a
can take the beer and
liquid.
convert it to wine. Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
this-
I'm gonna do a water, but instead of the water, I'm gonna come down here to my interior, my absorption color, and let's make this like a red wine. Do something like that. Okay. So we're getting something here, right? All right.
That's
First thing
perfect.
we're gonna do, I'm gonna drop in a camera. I'm gonna jump over here, set this to 1920, just so we get a little square image.
Maybe you can activate ray tracing. What do you think?
Oh,
It's
I'm definitely
left
going
later?
to. Yep.
Okay.
Let's kind of line this up, get this going. Okay, backdrop image for my camera. I did grab something from stock ahead of time.
Uh-huh.
Let's grab this image.
Oh,
I don't have a lot of time to do lights here. No problem. What I'm gonna do is match image. I'm going to just let Stager create an HDRI for me.
Based
So
on the background
create lights.
image.
Yeah. And you know what? That's a low dynamic range image. It wasn't an HDR, but Stager's gonna do it.
so yeah, it's smooth.
Yeah, all right, let's move
like
this
that.
over. All right, we can turn on ray tracing really quick so we can get an idea of what this is gonna look like. So it'll take just a second to kind of warm up. And boom.
Boom.
We're starting, yeah, at the same time.
Incredible.
Oh man, we are in sync. All right, so here's what we're getting so far. Loving this. All right, now.
And ray tracing, what it does, it's way more accurate, especially if you look at the glass. You have all the refraction of the light within the glass and the liquid. So that's beautiful.
All right, what I'm doing right now is I'm grabbing an area light. So just like a real photographer would do, I've got a nice kind of fill light that I'm placing here in my scene. I want to get these wonderful reflections on my glass. Let's, I always forget, I think it's let's just scale this up to like, I don't know, I'll just make up a number
I
there.
think
Okay,
it's good.
we'll jump back into my camera. Oop, I'm not super happy with it. We got time, let's move it.
You have like something like 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Something like that. But
Oh, wow, we do.
yeah,
Rotate
we're
it.
going to be good.
Camera, boom.
Oh,
And
good.
you know what? Increase my intensity just so we can see the light.
Just beautiful.
Last thing. We need depth of field. So we
Yeah.
turn on depth of field, set my focus point,
And
change
decrease
the
a
blur
bit.
amount. You know what? My focal length of my camera, we're gonna scale this guy up, move it into place.
Wes, this is almost romantic what you are doing now.
Oh, thank you. All right, there we go. And we'll let it just kind of sit for a second. My scale for my barrel is off. It looks a little funny, but you know, if we had time, I would do that. But
This
you
is
know.
approved by a French guy, so that's fine.
Okay, yeah.
You have it.
But anyways, really quick, I think we're just about done. We've got like maybe 10 seconds left. I don't know.
Yeah, I am just checking if there is.
20 seconds.
20 seconds.
But we
Wes,
went from nothing. We
to
added
this.
the bottle, we had the lights, we added the materials from Substance 3D Assets, we grabbed stuff from stock, we were using Illustrator files, and we created ourselves a nice little winery scene.
Yeah, that's perfect. Wes, you did a great job. I hope you liked all the Substance 3D possibilities. It's easy, it's fun, so try it at home. If it's not the case, it's super fun to use.
Yep, and Vincent, you were awesome as the host.
Thank you. You were
It wasn't
awesome as
possible
the
without
guest.
Vincent here as
Yeah,
the host.
and with Matt.
Oh,
Matt,
yes.
Matt is here as
And
well.
we have our Matt.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you guys and see you around.
Thank you guys.